Hi, welcome back, you beautiful souls, for the return of a series many of you have requested. A series that's brought to you by a good friend who I've worked extensively over the past several months to really get this story well planned out in power ups and stuff like that. Where we last left off this series, Izuku had just finished dinner with his mother and everything, and she went and got an appointment for Izuku, and we're going to skip to the next day from when we last left off. Izuku and his mother show up to the quirk doctor. It's a different doctor. It's not All for One's doctor. If you guys don't If you don't know what that reference All for One's Doctor is, then I'm not going to spoil it for you. You can look it up yourself or just wait until canon reveals it. That being said, when they get there, Izuku on the ride there, in their car and everything, he explains more to his mom more in detail. He thinks he has a quirk similar to Kachan's. And it's weird. It just he doesn't know. He goes "Don't worry, sweetie. The doctors will be able to run some tests to figure out what exactly your quirk is." So while Izuku is taking his tests, they see he tries to replicate what he did against the sludge villain, and then they notice that his hand begins to turn to sludge, and then he throws an explosion, and then his hand returns to normal, and everyone starts freaking out, and Izuku's like, "What?" And then he looks down at the hand he used to create the explosion, and he's missing two fingers, and he begins to freak out. So, what? So, a big hoppaloo happens, and they get him some water and stuff. And as Izuku's drinking some water, some liquid, and they see his hand, it begins to, where his two fingers were missing, sludge starts to form, and he's Izuku's freaking out because he's seeing this in real time. His two fingers that were missing, his pinky and God, I forgot the term for that one. Well, his pinky and the one right next to it begin to reform in sludge, and then after they're completely reformed, it turns back to normal skin, and Izuku's like, whoa. And they run a few more tests, and they come to find out that Izuku has, from what they can tell, two quirks. Something similar to this Katsuki Bakugo's quirk, explosions. He does sweat nitroglycerin like Katsuki, and he also has this other quirk, sludge, and then Izuku, through talking with Izuku and everything, more, they come to the realization that Izuku has a copy quirk. Because his friend's quirk, and then also the villain attack that he was involved in, he has both of their quirks. And mind you, during the sludge villain attack, Izuku was basically encased in the sludge. And the reason why he never exhibited Katsuki's quirk is because he never had, a trigger. He never had, that trigger of, it activated. And going into, science behind, the quirks and everything, you, we'll be here, all day. I digress. So to test this out, and Izuku does inform them that every single time he's touched someone, they feel weirded out, but he thinks his mom feels it, but she, for some reason, it doesn't affect her anymore. So to test this out, one of the heroes, one of the doctors has a quirk that allows him to basically bend his fingers all the way back. Basically, it's they named his quirk double palm because like his fingers can freely move back, like he can grasp things with like the back of his hand, or like a normal hand. Basically, like his fingers will bend both ways, like double hands. And the doctors are examining him while Izuku is holding on to this guy's hands, and then they see like his hands begin to morph to look like the other person's hands, and Izuku's like, whoa, and he tries it out. He basically does the same thing. He does the same thing that the doctor can do, and they're like, huh, that's weird. And they wait like a couple hours, and Izuku, it still has the quirk. And the other doctors are asking the doctor who had it, and he says, yeah, it was weird. It it felt like something was tugging at my skin, and so they explain this to Izuku, that he actually doesn't have just one quirk, but now he has 4. He has his quirk, which they explained to him is a tactile copy quirk, and the longer he holds on to someone, the more of the quirk he copies. So he's like, whoa. So they finish up, and they do want him to come in over the next couple of days so that he can run more tests to really figure out how his quirk actually works. They know he can copy quirks, so over some trial and error, they with volunteers, mind you, they figure out that yes, like depending on how long he has skin-to-skin contact, determines how much of the quirk he can copy. It seems like brief connections, like if he shakes someone's hand, like briefly, it's ineffective. But if he holds on for like an extended period of time, he can completely copy the quirk. So, that being said, they give his diagnosis, and they call his quirk textile perfect copy. For now. So, Izuku, he's happy at the end of this week, and he has been testing out with like the explosions like now and again, and he does test out like forming his arms and like legs into like sludge, and then reforming them back into like normal appendages. Oh my god, don't tell me I've been talking this whole time. Okay, I am recording. God. I was sorry about that, guys, but I honestly thought I wasn't recording, and I was like, oh god. Sorry about that little divergence. But he has been turning his arms into sludge and then reforming them back to normal. And he thinks back to like what happened at the quirk doctor, where his fingers reformed, and he thinks about it. He turns his hand to sludge, and he basically takes a part of the sludge that his hand is now formed and puts it down on like the table, and then he reforms his hand, and his pinky's missing. Or, no, we'll say his index finger's missing this time. And the sludge on the thing, and he's like, And then he's like, how do I make it explode? And the moment he thinks that, his desk gets blown up, and his mom comes running in the door, and he's just like, I'm sorry. And then his mom sees his hand, and she's like, Izuku, your finger's missing. And he's just like, oh, sorry about that, Mom. And he grabs his water bottle off the floor, and like he proceeds to drink it, and Inko just sees his finger starting to reform in sludge, and then it reforms back to normal. And he's like, I sorry, Mom, I was just testing my quirks out. And Inko just kind of says, you gotta be more careful. If you're gonna do something like that, at least do it in the backyard so you don't destroy stuff. Now we gotta go get you a new desk. He was like, kind of laughs, and he's like, sorry, Mom, really I am. It's just, for so long I wanted a quirk, and then my quirk activated, and now I have 4 quirks. As he proceeds to make reversed fist, and Inko just goes, so the weekend comes, and he meets up with All Might at Dagobah Beach, and Izuku, he's excited, and All Might asks him, so how'd the doctor's appointments go? And Izuku's like, they went really well. Apparently I have this thing called textile copy. Apparently the longer I hold on to someone, they'll feel some discomfort as though someone is tugging on their skin where I'm touching them, and after a while I have a copy of their quirk. All Might begins to think about this, and he walks up to Izuku and kind of grabs his hand. He's just like, oh my, wait, I don't have my gloves on. I don't want to. And All Might kind of is flinching a little bit, and then he pulls his hand away. And he's like, do you feel any different? And he's like, I don't know. I feel. And then Izuku begins to like clutch his chest. Now, mind you, All Might knows how dangerous the quirk is, but with Izuku's ability to, recuperate the lost limbs and like reforming, he has a quote-unquote healing quirk. So the boy should be fine. He should be fine if like he's able to actually copy all, like, one for all. And Izuku, after clutching like his chest for a few moments, and All Might says, Midoriya, are you okay? And Izuku, he stands up and he's like, I feel fine. Well, why'd you do that? That was dangerous. I copied your quirk, and my quirk got enhanced, and all this other stuff. I mean, he starts rambling off, and All Might just places his hand on Izuku's shoulder, and he's like, how about you throw a punch? When you feel the energy in your body, and then you just release it, clench your butt cheeks, and yell, smash! So Izuku, he does it, and he's like, okay, call forth the power, then release it. And he throws a punch, and Izuku, he screams out in pain. He's like, ow! And then he forms his arm into like sludge, and then reforms it back to normal. And he's like, ow, it's still a little bit painful, but that was everything I had. All Might's looking at this, and he's like, should be stronger. Oh, well. So he explains more in depth about his quirk, One for All, and how it can be passed down and everything. And then he asks Izuku, who's like, take off your shirt. I need to see where you're physically at. And Izuku does, and All Might's kind of shocked. He's like, whoa, you're built. And then Izuku looks down and he's like, well, what the hell? Izuku's like, I didn't look like this morning. And so he starts cleaning up the trash and everything. And All Might's like, well, your body's pretty good in shape right now. We do need to refine out some key points. You do need to build up a little bit more muscle before I would feel comfortable actually giving you the quirk. The test was, I figured you'd be okay, and your body's about, like, your grip strength is amazing, so I knew you would be able to handle the quirk, though it'd be dangerous. So I just did a little test. But it seems you can't copy my quirk because I need to willfully let you have it. That's why the copy that you have is weaker. Izuku's like, hey, well, that does make sense. So, like, the first day, and this is conversations over, like, the next, month or so. Izuku, he's more so been training, like, his quirks, activating and deactivating it, and trying not, and with the help of, like, a few of All Might's friends, try to figure out if he can stop the copy process or not. And a few of them and after some trial and error, he just can't control it. But there was one time where it seemed like he was able to slow down the process. So they know it's possible, but Izuku will just, through trial and error, will have to perfect that. And mind you, it's not dangerous quirks. I would say, like, quirks that allow you, for example, for the villain, I'm not saying Izuku has this, but the ability to change your hair color. Or like the doctor who has, like, the double palm quirk. You know, like, minor quirks that aren't really powerful, but really wouldn't change anything about Izuku. So he's been working on control of the other quirks that he's in possession. Now, a booster quirk that he calls it, like a strength booster, is what he names, like, the copy of One for All. Then we have sludge and explosions. So he's been working on it, and he finally, like, one day he thinks about it, and he's like, hey, All Might, you said you had permission for me to use my quirk, right, under your supervision? Well, I've been thinking, what would happen if I hydrate myself? So Izuku, he takes off his shoes and everything, and walks over to, like, the sea, and he basically submerges like the lower half. He walks out until half of his body is, like, underwater, and he begins to, like, turn his lower body into sludge, and then the surrounding salt water begins to, like, turn into, like, sludge as well. Izuku then, like, thinks about it, and he basically stretches his arms out, and, like, they start turning to sludge, and they start getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, to a point where they're, like, about 25 to 50 times bigger than what they normally are. And he begins to, like, swipe, like, you know, when you use both your hands to scoop up something, he basically starts doing that with, like, his sludge appendages, and begins to move all the trash on the beach, pulling it into, like, one area. And then he passes out. The sludge that was around all, like, the trash, and mind you, he took from, at this point, he had cleared about 10% of the beach. He takes it from, like, 90% of the beach being covered in trash down to 25%, but all the trash is in, like, an area. Izuku, he passes out, All Might comes out, it, like, grabs him, and as Izuku is, like, lifted out of the water, his arms begin to form back normally, and, like, all the sludge that was around him in, like, the sea begins to turn back to, like, normal salt water. All Might looks, and he's like, that's crazy. So after, I would say about 10 minutes, Izuku wakes up, and All Might is looking down at him, and Izuku's like, did it work? And he looks around the beach, and 75% of it is clear now, but there is a lot of trash in one particular area, and Izuku's like, oh, yeah, that's right. All Might's just grinning at him, and he's like, well, this gives us plenty of area for me to help you out with, like, fighting senses and everything. And over the next month, they do get the last of the trash picked up. And Izuku, how he accomplishes this, he does his old trick where, like, he'll bring, like, gallons and gallons of water, and every single time Izuku does this, it's crazy. The boy downs like 30 gallons of water like it's nothing, and, like, he just gets slightly bigger. Nothing really noticeable unless you were actually looking at it. Because, I mean, he is adding mass to his body, and he proceeds to pull certain parts of trash, and then, putting them in a bubble, and then exploding it, basically incinerating trash. And the things that he can't do this with, like metal and stuff like that, he does, it breaks it up into small pieces, and he's backing it up. So, about a week before the 2-month mark, All Might sits Izuku down after they had, basically, there's a couple more days and the beach will be completely clean. He sits down with, All Might sits him down, and he has a conversation with Izuku, and he's like, Izuku, past 2 months, basically, you've shown me incredible gains. Your body's perfectly adapted now to handle the power of One for All, but your other quirks would be enhanced. So, for the next 7 months, we'll be working on your control of your many different quirks and testing the limits of it. And he's just like, what do you mean testing this? And he firmly looks at Izuku, and he places his hand on the shoulder, and he's like, you're the only person I would want to pass this quirk down. If you don't take it, I'll probably just keep it until the day I die. I know I'd be asking a lot of you, Izuku, but I think you're my perfect successor. You have strong quirk, and the many quirks that you would gain over the years would be boosted by One for All. And who knows? Maybe one day when you pass the quirk on, it would be a perfect quirk for someone that doesn't have power, like you once had. And Izuku, he looks down, and then he looks up, and he actually has tears in his eyes, and All Might is taken aback by this. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. And Izuku's like, no, All Might, it's not that. You're just, like, hearing you say that, my idol, my mentor, it just makes me really happy. Do you really think I'm ready for that? Yeah, All Might steps back, buffs up, plucks the hair out, and he's like, yes, now eat this. And other time, like, they have tried Izuku copying All Might's quirk, and it just enhances it just enhances it. And Izuku's kind of topped out at like 20 with that quirk, 20% of All Might's power. So All Might's like, well, you're ready, so eat this if you want my quirk. So Izuku does, and that night Izuku has a very, very, very weird dream. He sees 7 people. 6 of them are shadowy. Well, 5 of them are in shadows. One of them is very clear. Another one is almost as clear as the man with white hair, who looks familiar to him for some reason. And then there's another figure that looks vaporeal, as though it's not there or not. It sort of looks like All Might. The person that is very clear and the person that is somewhat corporeal is just looks at him, and then the corporeal person looks and it's like, who are you? Like, just looking at Izuku and just says, who are you? And it just keeps repeating that. And Izuku, he wakes up in a cold sweat, and he looks down at his hands, and like he notices electricity is like forming all around his body, and like his room is kind of destroyed. And like the moment he thinks that his mom comes running in, Izuku, are you okay? And then she's like, what happened in here? And Izuku is like, I don't know, Mom. My training. And then she actually sees Izuku, and she's like, Izuku, what's all that electricity? And Izuku's like, I think it's my quirk? And then he's like, how did All Might say? And he turns the quirk off. Inko is worried, and she's actually asking Izuku, are you okay? And he's like, I'm fine, Mom. It's just, I had a weird dream. So the next day, he meets up with All Might, and he's all day during their sparring. Mind you, they're not going all out using their quirks. They're just doing physical sparring. So All Might is in his Small Might form, but they're more so working on technique. So All Might doesn't really need to be in his buff form to do this. Basically, like, no quirks, just your physical, like, just your natural physical strength is what is being used. And he's pointing out Izuku's like, you're a few millimeters off, try it this way, and then they repeat it and everything. And they are going fast. It would be like a martial arts sparring match, but not to that degree, like a few degrees below that. So that All Might doesn't get hurt or have to use his time with this quirk. And it goes on all day, and Izuku, All Might asks, like, bumps up once, and it's like, ready to take this to the next level? And Izuku's like, no, All Might, something weird happened to me last night. And All Might's like, eye twitches up as he deflates, and he looks at Izuku and he's like, oh, and what is that? And he explains what had happened. All Might's eyes are wide, and he's like, wait, you saw the vestiges? I didn't think it would happen that fast. And Izuku's like, what, vestiges? And he's like, yeah, at some point you would see the past users, and it's just a sign that the quirk has completely adapted to your body. I thought it would take at least a month with how much you've been progressing. And Izuku's like, what? And then almost, but what concerns me the most is you said the guy with white hair. Well, that would be the first user. You say he spoke to you? Yeah, he kept asking me this question over and over and over. Who are you? As though something was wrong, but not wrong at the same time? Does that make any sense to you? Does that mean like they're rejecting me and almost like, no, if they rejected you, you would have lost the quirk and it would have came back to me. This is weird. I'll have to do some research on that. Call a few people that knew the past users and everything. Do a little bit of research on that. It may take some time. So, show me what you can do. So Izuku, he takes in a deep breath and with his eyes closed, and when he opens his eyes, electricity and spark starts flowing around Izuku. He bulks up ever so slightly, more noticeable than when he drinks 30 gallons of like water in like a few minutes. And almost like, whoa, that's new. And Izuku's like, yeah, it feels weird, but Izuku throws a punch and like his fist like kind of explodes off of his hand. He's like, ow, ow. He's holding like his nub and he walks over. And he picks up like his massive, like this massive water bottle. That's about 1.5 gallons, and he proceeds to drink it. He let his hand begins to reform into sludge. And then when he reforms it back, he freaks out and he's like, oh my hand. It hurts, but it's purple. It almost like, ooh, snap. Immediately buffs up and jumps. Lands, jumps, lands, and jumps again. And Izuku sees where they're standing, and he's like, this is UA! And almost like, yes, I figured I could take you to a hospital and they could treat your hand, but I think someone here will be able to do it a lot faster, and we won't have to stop your train. He walks Izuku in, and then he's like, that's recovery girl. And All Might's like, recovery girl, can you help me out with an issue? And she's like, what is it, Toshi? I'm busy here, preparing for the new school year, something you should have been. And then she sees Izuku, and she's like, who's this? And then she sees his hand, and she's like, oh my god, don't tell me you gave this boy your dang quirk. And Izuku just goes, what, recovery girl? And then he thinks about it a little bit more, and he's like, oh yeah, number one hero's doctor would be the number one recovery hero. Because Recovery Girl is known for her hero work, but she's more famous in the medical community because she is a legitimate doctor. Her advancements that she's done for like the medical science is well known throughout the entire world, not just in Japan. She's known as a hero in Japan. Yes, she's well known as a hero, but globally she's known as an amazing doctor, and one of the best doctors in the world, pretty much. So she walks over and she begins to like go use her quirk on Izuku, and he's like, wait. My quirk, it's kind of dangerous. I could potentially copy your quirk. And Recovery Girl goes, oh, but you're in... They explain his quirk, and Recovery Girl just smiles, and she's like, well then, take my quirk then. I don't mind. Like, you can copy my quirk. I don't mind. And honestly, it would actually be making more of like my successor in a way. Izuku smiles, and Recovery Girl proceeds to kiss his forehead. Initially, when she touches him, she's weirded out. And they say, well, if he does copy it, he copies it. If not, with the amount of time that would take for her to activate her quirk and everything, it shouldn't be that big of an issue. But as soon as Recovery Girl kisses him, yes, his hand instantly heals, but his body begins to glow with like these red lines all over it. And then they disappear as quickly as they appeared. Izuku's like, whoa, what? And then he feels different. He feels more power. But then he thinks about it. He's like, hey, Recovery Girl, how do you activate your quirk? And she explains it, and then Izuku begins to do it, and his mouth forms the way that Recovery Girl's does. And to test this out, Recovery Girl basically just grabs a scalpel and proceeds to make a small cut on her fingertip. Now, she could heal this herself. Or, no, I don't... Does her... I'll get back to that. For now, we'll say she can heal herself. Sorry about that. That's one thing I forgot to actually look into. My apologies on that. I digress. And she's like, well then, here, Izuku, do heal my finger. And we'll see if you actually have my quirk or not. And when Izuku activates the quirk again, he begins to think about it, and he breathes in and breathes out, and he activates One for All. Immediately, Izuku's lips begin to glow, and when he kisses a Recovery Girl, she is surprised. She's like, "What the hell, kid? What the hell did you just do to me?" Healed your finger? And Recovery Girl's, "That's not all you did, kid. You healed my arthritis. I no longer feel the pain in my bones. I don't think I need this dang cane anymore." Again, she kind of tosses her cane to the side, and she's stretching. It's like, "Wow, kid. Huh. I guess that would make sense. My quirk would be supercharged by One for All. What?" And All Might's looking at Recovery Girl, just like, "What?" "Well, it may be possible now. I did theorize that if somehow I could increase the power of my quirk, I could potentially heal you. But it might not work." Izuku, and then they just hear a loud, and they turn around, they see Izuku is laying on the ground, unconscious. They freak out. They get him into a medical bed. And after infusing some electrolytes and everything into his body, because they think it may be caused by the sludge, he comes to, and Izuku is like, "Whoa, that felt weird. I don't think I'm going to be doing that quite often. Supercharging your quirk, that is. Looking at Recovery Girl. And Recovery Girl then explains her thesis that Izuku may be one day to, like, actually heal All Might's injury. And Izuku, like, goes wide-eyed at the same. He's like, what? If I can do that, I'll prefer to do it right now. And he activates, like, One for All subconsciously. And, like, his mouth begins to form. And Recovery Girl smacks him in the back of the head and it's like, it's dangerous. You passed out from that. Until you get a better grasp on that brutal quirk of Toshinori. And you master my quirk. You should avoid using both of them in tandem with each other. Seems like it drains your stamina and not the other person's. So it could potentially be very dangerous, young man. You're lucky you have that dang nifty sludge quirk. Seems like that's the reason why you were able to recover so fast after we pumped you with some electrolytes and more liquids. And so they wrap up. Recovery Girl, like, thanks Izuku, like, shaking his hand. And he's like, you don't feel weirded out with me touching me? And she's like, yeah, I feel a little weirded out, but after 45 years of working in hospitals, not much can unnerve you anymore. Feels like a little tickle, actually. Thank you again, young man. Thank you again. I never thought I would feel this good anymore. So, Izuku, he's like, All Might drops him off at his house, and Izuku's like, All Might, do you want to come in and for some tea? I mean, that's a stupid question. All Might is like, well, okay. So, as they enter the room, as they enter Izuku's house, he's like, Mom, and as soon as he sees it, like, he sees, like, the scene, like, All Might just sees, like, Izuku's, like, left arm turn to sludge and One for All activate. All Might immediately buffs up. They enter the room, and then they just see this man, like a man laying on the ground. And then these two other figures, one of them's kind of holding Inko as, like, he puts his hand on, like, her face and lays her down, and then just looks up at Izuku. He grabs onto, like, the other figure, and then they just disappear into, like, the shadows. Izuku runs over to his mom, and his mom just lifts up her hand and puts her hand on his face, and she says, "Find your brother." And she collapses, like, completely knocked out. They get an ambulance there, and Izuku, after they, like, Inko is in a coma, and they don't know when she'll wake up. She seems to be healthy, but, like, for some reason she's not waking up. Izuku, like, this whole time in the lobby, has had his mind racing. He's like, could it heal her? Could it heal whatever ails her? So, and then he also is like, my brother, but Mom doesn't have any other children. Wait, did Dad have a secret love child that Mom never told me about? And he's thinking this, and then he's like, I've got to try. So he rushes in. He activates, like, One for All, and then he activates, like, Recovery Girl, and he kisses his mother, and nothing happens. He tries again, nothing happens. He goes to do it for a third time before All Might grabs him. He's like, Izuku, calm down. She's fine. It's just, it may be some trauma to her mind, and that's not something even Recovery Girls Court can help out with. Do you have the police officers wondered if you have anywhere else that you could stay? And he's like, Auntie Mitsuki, she may look after me, but honestly, All Might, I prefer not to stay there because, well, Kachan, was a bully and he's kind of an a-hole. Well then, I'll let the police know, and for now tonight, you'll stay at your place, and I'll keep guard. Make sure the villains don't attack again. So they did after the guy that was there comes to after they were able to save his life. It looked as though something went through like his gut and like sliced clean through him, but then cauterized the wound. So they were able to repair like the damage and basically reconnect arteries and stuff like that, and put temporary skin over like his thing. Like, they were like, whoever did this had some kind of medical knowledge, because to perfectly cauterize to where it can be repaired, whoever did this, we would like to speak to him, because this is like, we can't even recreate this with medical equipment. That being said, Izuku goes home that night. He sleeps. He wakes up the next day. All Might's there, and Izuku like asked All Might like when they're eating breakfast. He did make breakfast, and he offered All Might a meal and everything, just being a host, because All Might is a host in this. And then they hear the doorbell ring, and he hears, "Damn it, Mom, why the hell am I here? You know me and this damn nerd aren't friends." And she smacks him in the back of the head. Didn't I tell you his mom's in the hospital, and, well, he's probably hungry, and we're bringing him breakfast, damn it. Izuku's like, oh god. He opens the door, and immediately Mitsuki like grabs him and hugs him, and Izuku tries, Auntie, my quirk, and she's like, I don't care about that. You lost your dad, and now Inko's in the hospital. You can live with us. I don't care what my husband says. Or this little brat. She punches him in the thing, and then she looks up, and she turns around, and she sees, like, as she turns around, like, pointing, like, punching him, she just sees Katsuki pointing and with his mouth open. It's like, and Mitsuki slowly follows her son's gaze and where he's pointing, and then she sees a man sitting there, and she's like, Izuku, who's this? And the man just has his finger up to his mouth, because Katsuki kinda saw, but not really. He didn't really see All Might transform and be All Might, but he saw the man change slightly, bulk up a little bit. Not like, basically he did a partial activation to where, like, he doesn't look like a skeletal person. And he introduced, and Izuku's like, oh, he's He's one of the people that he was asked to watch me tonight, and Auntie, I honestly don't want to stay at your place. I much prefer to stay here. I mean, I am 15 after all, and I'm going to be 16, so I can take care of myself. But thank you, as he like hugs her again. It's like I understand the sentiment, but honestly, I'd much rather stay here. Because this would be the first place Mom would call if she comes to. So after breakfast, they say their goodbyes and everything, and Izuku, Koski's just looking at this man. Where the hell do I know this guy from? Whatever. Alright, damn nerd. Good luck on your training. I know you've been training for past 2 months. I haven't been slacking off either. You're not gonna beat me. And my quirk's better than that damn copy you have of it. And he just storms out. Kotsky being Kotsky. So over the next several months, Izuku things start to happen. During one of their spars, Izuku throws his hands up and All Might begins to float, and he's like, oh, what the hell? And then he sees like where his feet is, and he's like, Izuku! And Izuku like gets shocked, and then he's like, what did you do there? That felt awfully like my... And Izuku's like, I don't know, it felt like someone was telling me to think something, and all the moment I thought it happened. Then Izuku grabs his head and goes, ah! And then all of a sudden, some tendrils start coming out of like his wrist, and Izuku's like, no! You won't control me! I won't let this power control me! As like the tendrils like recede. And Izuku, All Might and him are astonished. It's like, wait, that one quirk, that was Black Whip. That was so Nana Shimura was the 7th. Or no, Nana was the 6th, so the 5th user's quirk. And then the other quirk you exhibited was my master's quirk. Izuku, I think you may manifest all the previous users' quirks. And mind you, this was midday, and then by the time All Might says this is towards the afternoon. So he tells Izuku to be careful with this, because other quirks may manifest. So as he's on his way home, he hears like a loud crunching and like not an explosion, but like stuff like basically getting destroyed. He runs around the corner, and then he just feels someone like bump into him, like kind of grabbing his arms and everything and pulling him away. And he's like, wait! And then he looks up and he sees the girl. She has the spiral looking hair, and he's like, a girl, a really hot girl. And he just sees her face kind of change, and then he's like, let go of me right now, my quirk, it's dangerous, please, stop touching me. She pulls back, and then she looks at Izuku, and then 2 strands of his hair begin to roll up in like spirals, and she's like, wait, your quirk, kid, what's your quirk? Perfect textile copy. I think I have your quirk now. Sorry, I just got done working out and I didn't have my hoodie on. My apologies. I really didn't mean to like copy your quirk. I promise it was an accident. And then Izuku gets clocked over the head. Because another hero comes by and he just heard, I copied your quirk without permission. Not knowing the situation, this hero had like kicked him and like was holding him up against the wall. The girl with the blue hair comes running up to the other hero and he's like, no, it was an accident. It was my fault. I didn't think a quirk like that existed. He was a civilian, like in danger, so like I was getting him out of the way, and then they look at Izuku, and Izuku's looking at them like, what? And Izuku's like, you're the bunny hero, Murako. And Izuku's like, what's wrong? And then Izuku feels different. He looks down at his legs, and they don't look normal. What? And they're like, your ears. Murako, she puts him down and she's like, kid, how long the quirks that you copy take place? And Izuku looks down and he's like, permanently. Why? She grabs her ears and is like, and Izuku lifts his hands up and is like, shortly after they apprehended the villains and everything, Izuku talks to these two, and then the dragon hero lands like next to him. See, Murako had been asked by Ryuko to help her out with a particular combat-oriented group of villains, kind of bringing them in. So she agreed. You know, heroes doing hero stuff. And we all know Murako, like she ain't gonna turn down no dang fight, like to fight someone. So she was all for it. So Izuku explains that his quirk came in a while ago, and he actually has more than just his copy quirk. And well, I guess I have 2 more quirks now to get a hold of. I mean, there's Recovering Girl's quirk, there's my childhood friend's quirk, Explosions, and then there's Sludge, and oh, and if you see my hands, this is actually not my part of my quirk. It's actually someone else's quirk. They called it Double Palm. Basically, he makes like 2 right-handed fists, and then he makes 2 left-handed fists, and then he makes a right and left-handed fist. A left-handed fist with his right hand, and a right-handed fist with his left hand. And they're like, Murko's a little irked, and she's like, you copied my quirk. Oh well, it was my fault. In case, I'd like to fight you someday. How about now? And Ryuko's like, Murako, calm down. The kid's totally in shock. And if what he says is true, Wave Motion. What is her name? One moment while I look up that name. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's why I didn't have it written down. Her hero name is actually her name with Chan on it. So Ryuko's like, Nedre, you should probably explain more about your quirk to him and the faults. It seems like he has a pretty good mind and he'll be able to work on it. And he does say he's going to want to go to UA. And Izuku, he then realizes, like, wait, you're Nedre Hado, third place at like last year's sports festival for like the new students of UA. And she's like, yeah, we're kind of doing my internship and everything, but that being said, well, my power, it's called wave motion. You think of it doing it this way, and also your stamina will actually be increased because of this. And you could like kind of smiles like, wow, really? And he's just thinking in the back of his mind, oh my god, 1-for-all enhancement of that? That's insane. So Izuku begins to leave, and Nedra, like, Riku is staying, like, with Mirko, and Mirko's like, why didn't you ask me to explain my quirk? Well, it's kind of self-explanatory. Bunny rabbit hop, you can hop as though like a rabbit, you have increased jump distance, your speed is increased, also your endurance is slightly increased, and your stamina. Now combined with young Nedra, with young Hato's quirk over there, the boy will probably have more stamina than both of you combined with how he says his quirk works. So, and then before Izuku leaves, Nedra grabs him and grabs his phone and puts her number in it. And it's like, if you have any questions, you can call me to ask me advice, and I can help you train my quirk if you want. I mean, it was kind of my fault that you got a new one. I should have thought more, but again, it was nice meeting you. Izuku waves to them and walks home. And I would say this was about at the 6th month mark when this happened. And he's like, so we got wave motion and the bunny rabbit's hero's quirk. Wait, the bunny rabbit's hero's quirk. He puts his hand back behind his back and he's like, thank God. Well, I have the years now. So with that, you beautiful souls, I'm going to end this part here. The reason why this part, I know I said in the beginning I would try to keep these parts down to 30 minutes. The reason why this one is going on, I decided to go a little bit further and kind of make the entrance exam and and a few other things its own part instead of having a 50-minute one for the next one. I decided to go a little bit further. And that way I can focus more on other things in the next part. That being said, Ethereos, thank you for the help on this series. The link to this man's channel will be in the description down below. Do go check his channel out. Leave him a comment on one of his videos. If you like his content, please subscribe to him. Let's get this man to 1K subs. I know you guys can. I know you beautiful souls can do it. I know you can do it. Watch a few of his videos. If you think his content's good, definitely subscribe to him. But leave a comment saying Zerg sent me in his comment section on whatever video do you decide to watch. Unlike the other video, this will have a like goal of 25 for the next part to come out in the next month or so. That being said, any new what ifs that I do will have a bigger like goal than the standard one that I will have, and the like goal will be adjusted as the channel grows. So comment on this video if you enjoyed it. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. I am trying to hit 10K subs by the end of the year. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I will see you beautiful souls in the next video.